Good morning if you're in Europe, or good day if you're anywhere else. My name is Joachim. I'm co-founder of StepUpLabs, where we help people to create the life they want, doing something they love. And today is kind of like an experiment in the sense that it's the first time that I'm running this Facebook Live from one of my favorite cafes here in Tokyo called From Afar. It's a beautiful place, and I will show you a bit by tilting my computer. There we are. So it's really cozy. It has excellent coffee. It's a great place to sit and think and to work. So I come here quite often. They also have delicious homemade cakes. Just saying, if you're in Tokyo, come to From Afar. You won't regret it. Okay, so today, the title of the lecture today, Money and Validation, Untangling Our Needs. This is going to be a somewhat shorter lecture maybe than usually. It kind of originated from a conversation I had with a friend a couple of weeks ago that inspired me to think about this. And the way it started was that we were having a talk, and at a certain point she said, in a bit of like a frustrated mood, she's an artist, and she said like, oh, you know, Joachim, I really need some monetary recognition. And I was thinking, and I said like, that's an interesting statement, monetary recognition. So I asked her, do you need money or do you need recognition? And she answered, well, for me, money is recognition. And yeah, that made so much sense in terms of how our society functions these days. But for me, that statement contains danger in the sense that it conflates the idea of money with an emotional need we have, which is recognition, validation of what we do, in this case, her art. And so I started thinking about this. And the interesting thing is that I really think it's better if we are able to separate those needs. I mean, money, for me, is a very technical thing. It's something that you need in order to be able to do things, to achieve certain things, to stay alive, first of all, of course, to be able to buy the things you need, but also to make things happen. If you have a business, money is kind of like the fuel of the business. You need to invest money to get results, to achieve the goals that you set for yourself, to improve the world, to give value, you need money. But that's a very technical thing. It's just something that is the result of a process. And I don't think money should ever be a goal. On the other hand, you have the emotional need for validation, for being seen, being heard, being appreciated. I think that's a very, very deep human need. And I don't think that should be conflated with money so much. No. How can we separate this idea of money and emotional validation? It's very difficult because, like, even in our language, the way we talk, you will hear people speak a lot about like financial security. Again, this conflates the idea of finances, money, with a very emotional value, which is security. And this, for me, comes from a scarcity mindset. It comes from the idea that there's maybe not enough for everyone, and you need to fight for the basic things you need, which is not a very nice place to be in. Like the mind space of that is not so nice, as it is rooted in fear. And I believe that fear should never be the cause of anything you do. Fear is the mind killer. I did a talk about that last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. Well, last time. So I believe that no matter how much money you get, no matter how much money you earn, no matter how much wealth you have, that won't necessarily make you feel secure. So financial security is kind of like a contradiction in terminus. And the other way too, I mean, I think there's many people who achieve a great sense of security in themselves, in their lives, without very big monetary means. So that's not really necessary. Money has been conflated with our emotional needs for quite a while now. But so that there's a simple truth that I like to keep in mind. More money will never quench an emotional need. Now, why did this happen? Why does this connection between money and emotional needs exist, you might ask? And that's a very good question, because it's actually quite recent. There is a wonderful documentary that I can recommend to anyone that is The Century of the Self. It's a BBC documentary. I think it's 4 or 5 parts of an hour. And it's mostly about one person, Edward Bernays. And Edward Bernays is pretty much at the root of this combination of money and emotional needs. Who was Bernays? Bernays is a very interesting figure. He was actually a nephew of Freud, I believe. And, you know, Freud, as he created his theories around how our emotional desires drive a lot of what we do, Bernays thought like, hey, wait a second, this is interesting. I can create something with this. I can make something while playing with those emotions of the people. So Bernays emigrated to America, and he basically single-handedly invented public relations, political propaganda, and advertising, which are all ways of using the idea that we have emotional needs and to play those emotional needs in order to institute some kind of desire for something else. It's the creation of a combination in your mind of an emotional desire with something that you think will give you that emotion, even though those things are not necessarily related. There's of course many different examples of this. In the Second World War, or just before the Second World War, Nazi Germany really used the insights of Bernays to create their campaigns, their political campaigns, you know, instilling fear in people and using fear as a method of making them do the things that they wanted, vote for the right party, or, you know, these kind of things. And of course, in the advertising industry, this has become such a normal thing. I was recently talking to someone who works in advertising here in Tokyo, and I was explaining this thing about Bernays, and she said, oh, wow, that's so interesting. I didn't know it was even possible to create advertising without making this connection with emotional desires. But it's actually quite recent, because before this, advertising was more about the product. It was about like, look, this drink will refresh you, or this car will bring you something, or this toothpaste will make your breath better, or something like that. But it was never about your happiness or your feeling or your status so much. So a very simple example of this advertising thing is that you very often see these campaigns in advertising where, like, you know, there's a family and they look so happy together and they're sitting in a nice car. And somehow the message becomes, you need that car in order to achieve that kind of emotion of being happy with a group of people, with a family. Now, I would say that most people would agree that what you really need to create that kind of feeling, that kind of emotional need, to fulfill that need, you need, I would say, authenticity and vulnerability and communication and compassion and empathy. Those are the things that create those human bonds that will give you the feeling that you're looking for. Buying the car has nothing to do with that. And somehow advertising has created this desire in our mind that becomes something else than the emotional desire. It becomes the desire to own this thing because you think this is the key to feeling that way. And I think this is very related to the original anecdote that I was telling, that, you know, people feel that recognition and money somehow are connected because they think that money is the gateway to any kind of these positive emotional feelings. And that's a very interesting thing. Now, the question, of course, becomes, if you start to analyze this and you understand that maybe you don't want to make that connection anymore, the question for you becomes, what is success? What are you truly looking for? As I said, money is a tool. Money is something that you use. Money is a fuel. Money is something necessary for making things work, but it's actually never what you need. It's never what you're truly looking for. If you analyze, every time you say, I need more money in order to do this or that, there's probably some other need behind that you can find out. So the question is, what is success? What is success for you specifically? And can we redefine success in terms of our emotional needs and how we want to feel in our lives. Basically, our lifestyle. Like, what is success in terms of our lifestyle, instead of in terms of what the advertising industry has made it into? Owning the right kind of car, owning the right kind of watch, having the right kind of social status, having the right kind of job, the right type of income. Like this, like almost like you can define income levels in terms of success. Like you're not really successful until you attain this kind of income level. The funny thing is, of course, because those things are not inherently connected to our emotions, the bar kind of continually shifts. If you talk to a person earning 10,000 euro per year, it was like, yeah, if I would earn double, I would be successful. But if you talk to someone earning 20,000 a year, it's like, no, people earning 50,000 are successful. Until you talk to those people who raised about 200,000, and this basically goes on. And if you talk to like millionaires, families with huge wealth and a lot of potential, they will still feel somehow that they are not rich, that they are not wealthy. They will still fear that other people are really successful, not necessarily them. So this is very interesting. Also for myself, I did a lot of work on this idea of success in my life. So what is success for me? I mean, as you know, I like to have this kind of openness and honesty about what I do and how to live my life. I think that's key to who I am and to my work. So I would like to share with you what success is for me and why I believe that I am very, very successful. Not in terms of what society dictates as success, but in terms of what I have defined for myself to be successful. Success for me is actually relatively simple as a concept. I think I'm very successful because what I do daily is aligned with my core values. That's the basis. Now, my core values are autonomy, integrity, and empathy. And it's very easy to understand how that becomes my definition of success, because autonomy, why am I successful? Because I can choose every single day where I am, what I do, how I do it, who I do it with, and why I do it. I have complete autonomy in deciding for myself what my life looks like. This for me is my biggest wealth. That's success right there. Integrity, because I choose to live truthfully. I choose to say what I do and do as I say. And this is a very powerful choice that has allowed me to create a lot of happiness and a lot of simplicity in my life, because as soon as you stop pretending that you're someone else, that you stop to try to be something that you're not, your life becomes so much more easy and beautiful. And then my third core value, empathy, obviously. I choose to always put human connections and human relationships before anything else. In terms of my businesses, this also means that I may sometimes have skipped opportunities for more traditional success in terms of financial rewards or growth or whatever. And I always prefer the empathic success, which for me is working with a group of people who love what they do and who love working with me, because in that way, everybody feels great about what they're doing. And that for me is so much more important than the growth on paper, percentages, amount of money that rolls in, all those kind of stuff. That's not what my life is about. That's not what I want to make my life about, because that's a choice. Now, I have a couple of exercises for you, as I promised, that will help you to define for yourself what is important, I guess, in terms of separating your maybe monetary needs from your emotional needs. So the first exercise is just take a sheet of paper and write down very simply what is success for you. Be specific. It can be anything. If you think that success for you is owning a big villa, then write that down. If you think success for you is waking up every day with a beautiful person next to you, then write that down. If you think success is maybe having the time to take a walk and just be in nature, write that down. Like anything that you think defines success for you, just write those down. And that's where the interesting exercise happens, because this is quite easy, although it's something that not many people do. Again, there's a lot of these easy exercises that you think like, yeah, this is obvious, but once you do them, they really change something in you, and that's important. But then now, if you have written down this like column of everything that means success for you, the next thing you do is you ask yourself why. So if you wrote down success for me is owning a big villa, then think about why. Why is this success? And then write that down, write the answer down. It could be because, you like big spaces, or it could be because you think social status is important, or it could be because you think beauty is important. Whatever it is, write it down. And then what I want you to do is, like, once you've written down why the first thing was success, then think about why again. Think about why that thing is the why of the success. And you can iterate that exercise a couple of times, always thinking why for the next step, until you can't really think of a why anymore. And then maybe you will have found something that is essential to you, or that is maybe part of your core value system, or anything like that. And so basically that's the second exercise today, is like we have to figure out what your core values are. Basically, that's the exercise. This sounds complicated. There's a number of ways of doing this. I think the previous exercise of writing down the why and always questioning yourself, yes, but why is this success for me? This is tremendously interesting to also get some insight into maybe your core values. The other exercise that I use a lot also in sessions with my clients, it's a bit strange, it's a bit morbid, but it really helps you to put things into perspective. It's to write your own obituary. Pretend that you're dead, and there is a service, some kind of ritual to commemorate you, and all the people that have been important in your life, family, friends, co-workers, whoever has some importance in your life, they come to this ceremony. And one by one, they come to the front and they tell a story about you. They tell something about you, something that they remember you by. Write down those stories about yourself. Write down what you think those other people that are important to you will say about you when you're dead. Because this will help you get insight into how you want to be remembered, about what you want your legacy to be. And that is very closely related to your core values. So the idea of looking through the eyes of someone else and shifting your perspective from when your life is finished, that's crucial, because in that way, you stop thinking about what is important in the now. You stop thinking about the things that bother you now, or that you want to achieve now or next year or whatever. Because once you're dead, that's like your whole life. So then you can really think about the core of what is essential to you for your life. That's basically it for today. So yeah, coming back to this original question of how can we untangle our needs? How can we untangle the idea that money is actually related to any other kind of emotional need? Well, I think that the most important thing to remember is that money is a tool. Money is some kind of fuel that you use to do things. As you probably know, a lot of people know this about me, I really dislike the metaphor of energy, because it has, in many ways, it produces problems, but you could see money as a kind of energy in the literal sense that you can use it to make things happen. I am in no way insinuating that you should sit down and attract money from the universe because it's an energy, something like that. No, but I mean, money is something that you can use to make something happen. And in this sense, money is a technical need. Money is not going to make you feel better about yourself, about your life. Those are separate problems. So really think of money as something that is just going to flow through your life, basically. You mean you come into the world without money, you will leave the world without money. Money is something that happens along the way. It's a result of certain processes that you set in motion. It's a result of providing value to others, of solving certain problems. It's the result of a certain mindset that says that you're valuable to other people and that you're valuable to yourself. And you can use that money to make things happen. On the other hand, think about your real emotional needs. Think about your core values. Think about what is really important for you in life. And then maybe create a lifestyle that is more about those things than about the money or any kind of other value that advertising and the way that Bernays has organized it tells you is important. Okay, that's it for today from my beautiful office from afar in Tokyo. I will now check if there are maybe some questions or comments for me to go through. So bear with me. Let's see. Lots of people have joined us. Thank you for that. It's lovely to have you here. Buongiorno, Christy. Yes, buongiorno indeed. But for me, it's evening basically. So the day has gone. I don't see any questions. Okay, I think maybe this was very clear. I think also this is a very deep subject that, although it was short and the things I said maybe didn't resonate with you at first because it's so hard to separate those things. If you have any kind of ideas or thoughts after this video, please don't be afraid. Just share them in the comments or send me a message, share them in the group, anything. If you're not in our group yet, don't forget to join. I posted the link to the group also in the title of this video, and I will share it in the comments again. Remember, if you join our group, you have the possibility of asking for a free 30-minute coaching session about your business or your needs to see how we can potentially help you. So that's it for today. I wish you all a wonderful day. Ciao.